Welcome to Now for Someone Completely Interesting. I'm your host, Ben Poulin. When I first launched this podcast, the first text message I received was from my guest who's joining me now. And as a result, he was my second guest. He's been a great supporter of the show. We had a great talk at the time about self-improvement, physical and mental health, and he was in the midst of training for a bodybuilding competition. So I'm not only proud to say that he followed through in competing in a bodybuilding competition, I'm also very proud and honored to welcome a bodybuilding champion to the show. Welcome back, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, I'm sorry. Welcome back, Giovanni John Zappitelli.
Hi, Ben, and thanks for having me back. Yeah, definitely not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but maybe one day, maybe.
Maybe sooner than you
When
think.
I'm
I
like
guess,
80.
yeah, I guess the overall size might be there, but and stature, but the dedication to this. Let's set the scene a little bit here. So we've let the cat out of the bag. So I mean, you alluded to it when we talked way back when on episode 2 here, that you were in the midst of doing this as part of your goals is
Yeah.
in your physical fitness and everything like that. But let's set the scene of the competition itself, because this to me, it's like they're really messing with you. Let's go back to about a month ago. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Um, practically everybody you know, is sitting at home with friends and family, gorging themselves on obscene amounts of food and having a drink here and there. And you're up in Grand Prairie, basically on a calorie deficiency,
Yeah.
probably dehydrated a little bit.
Yeah,
And
definitely dehydrated.
you're standing in front of a room of people judging you in nothing but a skimpy speedo. And take us through that whole process. Let's go there.
Okay, so basically Friday, so 2 days before my competition, I competed on October 10th, which was on a Sunday. So my wife and we traveled up Friday. We got up really early, about 3:30. Packed the vehicle and headed up to Grand Prairie for the 6-hour drive. Um, so basically, what happens is all the athletes check in on Friday. We get weighed in, um, and then they kind of take you through a little bit of what's going on and kind of expected for timing of the show and stuff like that. You get your badge, which goes on your badge number, which goes on your suit.
The only piece of material you
Pretty much, and it doesn't really hide anything. So, yeah. So I got to watch the open show. The open show was on the Saturday. I competed in Naturals, so Naturals was on the Sunday, and yeah, so basically to roll through that, you're checking in 3-4 times a day with your coach, um, videos, just to check for flatness and just to see overall physique with the amount of food you're taking in, not taking in. Um, Water balance and fullness, stuff like that. So definitely a little bit challenging when it comes to the last week of preparing for this competition. I mean, like you said, uh, definitely in some deficiencies, calorie deficits. I think my lowest day was about 1190. And I did about 75 minutes of cardio that day. So, yeah, that ended on the Wednesday before traveling up. So you don't do any workouts 3-4 days before the show.
Right.
So you cut off there.
So that you're in a depleted state physically. What does that do? And then the whole, I mean, a competition is a competition is a competition. The mental strain that compounds everything. What are you going through that? Like, how are you?
Um, Definitely a lot going through your mind. The whole reason of me doing this was to face my fear of being judged.
Right.
So, um, somebody that does suffer from mental illness, anxiety, stuff like that, and not to just bring that into the conversation, but it's a lot of things, like a lot of people think, oh, what is this person thinking about me or this and that. And I'm like, you know what, screw this. Uh, I just I want to be judged on some of the work that I have actually done. And it worked out in my favor, which was really nice. And got to meet some really good people, um, and hard workers.
Hmm.
So, what's going through my head? Huh, definitely lots. I mean, there's a lot of self doubt when you're going through something like this. Like mentally, the ego kicks in a little bit where it's like, you're not good enough for this, or, like just give up. It's not worth it. But these are the type of things where you just got to kind of push through, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of like in a way of like leveling up in your mental state.
Right.
So, um, yeah, definitely a lot of that going on for sure.
So is it fair to say, going into this, your main goal was to get through something like this, to step up on stage, to get through people judging you and come out and saying, see, it's not so bad kind of thing. But lo and behold, you're first place.
Yeah. So, yeah, lo and behold, first place. So the one category that I did take first place, I was the only competitor.
Okay.
So for the overall, I competed against another guy.
Right.
The only reason why I competed in the one category was because I was the only person in that weight class.
Okay.
So it's divided into several categories for weight. I couldn't be over 160 pounds.
Hmm.
So my weigh-in was 158, and overnight I think I lost, I don't know how many pounds. I was 152 when I stepped on stage.
Jeez.
So 6 pounds I lost overnight.
So that really kind of puts into perspective what kind of a situation you're in physically going into this, right? It's
Yeah,
not like you hear it like on the UFC fighters or something that do their weigh-in because they want to fight in a certain class, and then overnight, all of a sudden, they gain 6 or 7 pounds.
yeah, and like, and when it comes to that kind of stuff too, like, after their fights, they got to weigh in because they got to be at the same weight. Here, you just weigh in
Right.
for that. I actually weighed in on Saturday because I had actually drank. I think I was up to 7 liters of water for that Friday, so
Hmm.
I don't think I would have made weight. So because I got to compete in Sunday, I got to weigh in
Right.
the day before.
I mean, I want to talk a little bit that it's limited in the numbers of the competition and everything like that. But part of that was because he competed all natural, and there's not a lot of people to begin with that compete in that. But okay, let's talk a little bit. We've got three basically trophies here, two actual chalices trophies, conventional wise, but your overall championship is this sword. We're going to post a picture of that on our Facebook and Instagram, of course. But to give people an idea, it's kind of a unique. Um, but it's not like you're going into this against another rookie either. Like you beat someone who had some experience in this field.
Um, no, basically, so I competed in novice
Okay.
and true novice.
Okay.
So true novice is somebody that has never competed,
Okay.
and a novice competitor is somebody who hasn't placed uh, what is it, top three.
Okay.
So the gentleman that I competed against, it was his first year too,
Okay.
but he was in a different weight class than me.
Right.
So I was in a class A, which is like the smaller class,
Right.
and I believe he was step class B, which was
Hmm.
between I think 160 and I'm not quite sure. But.
Uh, how,
Uh,
how long does the whole process take? Like when to get up on stage to go through you got to do poses and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, so basically, when I started with my new coach on in the end of February.
Okay.
So when when you compete naturally, it does take a bit of time, depending on how much fat percentage you have, to cut that weight.
Right.
So for somebody that's more assisted, it takes them a shorter period of time to cut weight,
Hmm.
um, just because of the stuff. But it probably took me about 8 months ish
Right.
to get to where I was at.
In general, when people prepare to even do their first competition like this, what sort of a time frame are they looking at to go from, like how you started? Because I do want to talk a little bit of, we're going to steal some pictures from your Define Your Life Now page and show the before and after, like
Yeah,
within 2 years, what you were able to accomplish sheer physically. Like if you had gained or accomplished even half of where you're at competition time, people would have been blown away
yeah,
without a doubt. But I, I've talked to other people who follow bodybuilding scene a little bit here that I know, and a lot of them are saying like, well, it takes about 3 years to get yourself into a true
yeah,
competition
and
form, and we're talking like 2 years for
yeah.
you.
So the thing and I'm definitely not gonna lie about this. I did sacrifice a lot of things. I always kept my family first.
Right.
Um, my work did suffer a little bit, but that's just when you have your eye on something and that you really want to achieve. Some things are gonna have to get sacrificed, and um, the thing is if I put my whole heart, my whole soul into it. Um, it wasn't the original plan, because actually the original plan was just to kind of like start eating healthy,
Right.
get my nutrition coaching, and kind of do that, which I still am doing. But um, it just went from like walking to like eating healthy, and then I'm like, you know what? Like this is really. And then when I started lifting weights, I was like, oh man, like this is really. I'm starting to see some like major changes here.
Hmm.
So I decided, I'm like, you know what? Let's do a competition. Like, so I think by the time I made that decision, I think I was already about 8 months in.
Right.
So it took about probably, yeah, I'd say yeah, about 14-ish months, 15 months to complete. And the thing is though, conditioning wise, like I definitely could have been better.
Right.
But the thing is being your first competition and stuff like that, like if you want to level up, like a lot of that stuff has to
Right.
level up also. But I was actually in a decent uh, condition for stage. And like I have a lot of faith in my coach. Like I mean, and we talked about it lots too. Like if I wasn't stage worthy, then we probably wouldn't. We probably would have waited. So I
Right.
mean, the thing is there's a lot of things on the line. I mean, you don't want to go up there kind of looking like a fool either, right?
Right.
Like so, you go through the motions, you put in the time. Like a lot of times, like I would practice, 2 or 3 times a day. Like, I'd come home and do some practicing, and even in between my sets at the gym, like you're flexing, trying to separate those muscle groups, and that's why
You ever get called out at the gym like, come on, buddy?
I'm sure people have said like, look at this fucking guy. But the thing is whatever. Like, I'm
Well,
not doing it because I want to show off. The thing is
so just for people going to the gym, keep that in mind. When a guy's flexing in front of the mirror, he might be preparing for an actual competition.
yeah, or he just might be proud of himself, and
There you
give him
go.
credit, right? Exactly.
When they, I get the big prize is from the competition they got. The sword was the overall
Sword was overall,
Okay.
yeah. So,
When they call your name and present you with that, like tell me what's going through your mind. What
well, before all of that, like I had to go on stage like a few times, especially when you're the only competitor in that one category.
right,
Like here, I went up like probably three, four, about three times, and then I had to do my routine, and then go back on stage with another competitor, athlete. Um, when they announced my name, I was blown away because I mean the thing is you're going into this stuff and a lot of people are not seeing like behind the scenes, like like the guy that I competed against, he was a lot bigger than me. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't even have a shot, man. Like this guy's probably got like 25 pounds on me, like, and he's definitely um, bigger and a lot more muscular, but you're not only judged on that.
right,
You're judged on your posing, your symmetry, um, and muscularity, and just like I was always told, like if you're going to be up on stage, like smile, like
right,
smile, have fun with it. Like the one biggest thing is if somebody's ever going to do this type of stuff is you have to trust the process
right,
because if you're not having fun with it and if it's just becoming work, it won't be as fun when you're on stage. So have fun with it, and that's kind of like what I did. I was getting a little nervous like the night before, and but that was one thing I told myself was, you know what, John, like, and people that know me, like I'm a loudmouth and always like kind of like center of attention. But when it came to like large groups or me presenting something,
mm,
I'd always choke.
right,
Like I remember in college, like I used to have like a hard time like doing presentations and stuff like that. But I told myself the night before I put my head to sleep that night, I told myself, I said, you got to do this. Like
yeah.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you are here. This is gonna happen.
So when when you accomplish this goal, and again, it's kind of twofold. It's number one, going through that process of being judged like that, and whether you're getting a good recognition for the work you put in, or whether they're telling you, well, you didn't put enough in. But then to actually come through it, not only with getting through that, but getting the positive results that you did. And when you win a competition like this, it's hard to say, well, how do you top that? But what's next on your
So right now, I think definitely training is still gonna happen. Right now, I'm doing an 8 week reverse diet. Um, so it's just kind of a diet that I have similar foods, just kind of introducing a little bit more as my coach likes to say, like civilian food or whatever, like more like I was at the rink the other day and I had popcorn and
right?
like stuff like that where you're kind of like just introducing like a little bit of like regular food that
Hmm.
you'd normally have if you weren't on prep.
I sorry, you just triggered a bit of a. There was a couple stories I wanted to touch on here. Number one, we'll get to the second one after because it deals with food. Number one was you showed me a picture and I think you called it the ball of emotion. Do you remember that picture? It was a it was just after you had received it was back in your, I think your wife took it. You were in the shower washing off
Oh
this.
yes.
You're basically
Okay.
like okay.
Yeah. So that picture there was pretty emotional actually. That was I was washing off the spray tan in the tub after the win, and yeah, like I had a little bit of a breakdown. Like I'm surprised I actually didn't do that on stage because the thing is like you go through a lot, like like physically, mentally, and you're just trying to hold it together. Like you feel like at like by the end of it, like you're holding up by a thread. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like you're getting irritated. You're getting a lot of this like the last couple months are probably where you're starting to like really, really deplete your fats, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens is, like your hormones change and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm basically in the
I
tub.
think what says it, and I don't know if it's on your Define Your
No,
Life
I've
now.
never put
Okay,
it on
because
there.
I'm telling you right now, you can actually feel the emotion come through that picture. The way you're, and all you can see is like you're kind of slumped
Yeah,
in almost a fetal position. All
yeah,
you can see is like the back of your neck and your back and the spray tan washing down the drain.
yeah,
But you can kind of sense what's going on there, and
yeah,
I can kind of relate from my own experiences with my running and stuff like that. You cross the finish line and you think that's where all the emotion's going to take over. It doesn't. You're just so dialed into what you're doing. It's a few hours later when you've basically get the stinky running stuff off and you hop in that shower, and then all of a sudden it starts sinking in what just happened. And
yeah,
it could be an hour or 2 hours after the fact that it kind of catches up with you. You're caught off guard almost, and that's why that one stuck out with me, because like I know
yeah.
that feeling.
Well, and first of all, I'd like to say, congratulations on
Oh,
your 100 kilometer. I mean, you
I'll tell
know,
you this right now, John. It's 10 times easier to do that than what you did. Because
well,
because here's the thing about when you're preparing to run an ultra is the week before the ultra, you don't go into calorie deficiency mode. You eat like a king, and like
well, maybe I should start doing that. Like I love food. Like I like right now, like I'm with this reverse diet. I'm actually like have a little bit more carb intake, so
right.
it's like making me feel like really full.
So you're so dedicated to the food, and I want to give a little example here. So over the summer here, we had a little gathering in the backyard with some friends of ours. You came over. We're all having a few drinks. We're all eating the chips and roasting the wieners, and then you've got your portioned out food, and you've got your cup of I think it was just water,
Yeah,
or yeah.
yeah.
And I'm telling, man, like I could not sit in a group like that watching that happen, but there you were doing that. So the second story I want to bring up has to do with food. And after the competition, I think you were driving back through Edmonton. You decided to treat was it in Edmonton you did it, or was it still up in Grand Prairie?
Actually, yeah.
I'm talking about the stack of waffles.
Oh, yeah. So the that was the whole plan. So the whole plan was to get a stack of pancakes, lathered each one in peanut butter. And yeah, so it was a four stack of pancakes lathered in peanut butter, and then the bottom was like a big waffle. Uh, put all the fruit on there, and I think we did the whipped cream too. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not, but I brought my own like sugar-free syrup, like
Right.
because I wasn't sure. Let's just say my body after didn't react.
It's one of those that seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what? Like that last bite, like don't get me wrong, I got it all down, but I think the kicker was about 4 hours later when we got to Spruce Grove and decided to stop in at a restaurant and have steak. So
Right.
the whole deal was after the show, we have pancakes and then go out for steak dinner. Well, I ate my steak, and I mean, when you haven't eaten a lot, it like anyone going through this, like just don't eat a lot because the thing is your body. Oh, so I decided, okay, well, my wife Kristen, she got like this like I think it was like a grilled chicken thing. She only ate half of it, and I kind of looked at her, and she looked at me, and I'm like, sure, I'll eat it. I didn't tell my coach that I'd eat this, but yeah, and it wasn't good. Like I think we were like maybe an hour or so from the hotel, and I had to pull over like, and it was not a good thing. It was actually funny for her, but like not. I was
I was
like,
just gonna say, good thing you got experience in the oil patch, knowing how to
yeah, yeah, it was.
go on
I'm sure there were a few people that seen my ass on the Henday that
There it is.
day.
That's
Yeah.
what.
So, and I apologize for that. It's
Oh
just it
well.
is what it is, right?
If any of them are listening, That was the issue. I mean, he went through a lot to get it. He deserved it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
in more ways than one. One other question relating, since this whole transformation, do you any longer own long sleeve shirts?
Um, well, most of my pictures now, like on Instagram and stuff like that, you know what, I'm becoming a little bit more comfortable in my own body now.
As you should be. I mean, it's a little joke, but
No, I
it
know.
really is something I think you have to be really proud of
Yeah,
and show. And that's one thing, like following your social media with Define Your Life Now, it's not really about look what I've done and this is what if I can do it, you can do. There's a lot of discussion about how hard it actually is. It's not sugarcoating anything you've done. And that's actually, I think that's important with a lot of stuff like this.
yeah.
People are always looking for the quick fix or the easy fix, and it doesn't truly in any way exist. If you want this, you've got to work for it. You might not have to do and sacrifice what you did, but I think to some extent, like this is a good way for people to really understand. And if someone did 10% commitment of what you've put into it, they'll see significant results. I truly believe that.
Oh, I absolutely believe that 100%. The thing is like what I have to realize, or like anyone that has gone through similar stuff like I did, was I didn't become overweight fast. I
Right.
mean, overweight, it was a lifestyle. And the thing is it was a lot of bad habits. Took a lot of uh, habits. Yeah, it was just a lot of habits continually to, and there is a certain age, like between the 25s and 35-year-olds where the kids are in sports and this and that, and you're running all over the place and you're all busy, and the easiest thing to do is not eat at home. Like, I mean, I was eating out like 4 times a week. Like, let's
Right.
let's be honest. Like, I mean, I wasn't huge, but definitely wasn't healthy. And I'll still remember the day that I looked at myself and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm actually losing muscle mass because I was so obese and unhealthy. So the thing is if you are looking for a quick fix, you're probably going to get it back quick too.
Right.
So it's a slow process. Trust it. Um, give the scale a little bit of a break. Like I think I went 2 months during this whole thing where I didn't see any changes on the scale.
Right.
And sometimes those not seeing the changes on the scale is actually a good thing.
Right.
Because the thing is you're actually leaning out, but you're also putting on muscle.
Right.
So definitely one thing to keep that in mind if you're on a regular, consistent
Hmm.
exercise program. Um, and yeah, for the people that go all week, and then spoil themselves on the weekend. I mean, you're gonna have a tough time like trying to keep that consistency. I mean, the thing is if you want to achieve a goal when it comes to your appearance or your physical attributes or whatever, I mean, it's just got to take a little bit of consistency and get yourself on a program. And I can say anyone can do it, but the thing is it's just more of like the mental discipline of,
Right.
and trust me, like there were days, a prime example, us sitting around the fire, like, yeah, sure, I wanted to have a beer, but I look at that beer and I'm like, well, is that going to affect my my outcome of my goal? Yes. So you know what? I need to rest on that.
Right.
So um, I am going to admit here on the show that Ben offered me a glass of wine and I accepted it.
Cheers.
And cheers. Thank you very much.
Well earned.
And yeah, it's been quite a while since I've had even a drop of alcohol. So I mean, the thing is everything in moderation,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And you know what? It is still a process that I am learning. Um, and again, when you do have that all or nothing attitude, it definitely takes time. Like, I
Right.
mean, I'm 39 years old, and we have a lot to learn, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
It's,
It took a long time to develop the bad habits. It takes a long time to secure the good habits. So I mean, it's a little bit cliche and we know that, but I mean, it's a prime example here of what it actually took. You did it, like I said, we're going to show from 2019 to 2021 that there's a significant change in that,
oh
in
yeah.
those two pictures. How big were you in that before picture?
That was the summer of 2019, and I was probably around 237, 240.
Right. And that was kind of the peak. And you're not a tall stature, so that weight adds up quite a bit.
According to, like, since I've actually done this working out, I actually grew a quarter of an inch.
Did you?
Yes.
Excellent.
So I don't know if it's just from, like flexibility or what, but yeah. So when I did my weigh in and they check your height, they're
Right.
like, yeah, I think I was like 5'4" and a quarter inch or
Right.
something like that. So,
Right.
oh,
But I mean, like to put it in perspective, a 230, 240 pound person, who's 6'4" versus a person who's 5.5 feet tall. I mean, that shows significantly. So, again, thank you for putting yourself out there like that and showing that, because that's not easy to do. I mean, you talk about standing on stage when you've been working out for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and you actually look phenomenal, and then to put what you looked like before
yeah.
is commendable too, to share that with us. So thanks again for doing that. So John, it's Define Your Life Now is your social media. So that's on Facebook, Instagram, what else? Twitter?
No, no Twitter.
Okay, good.
Just
Me
just
neither. I don't.
um, yeah, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
For sure. I haven't really been. I'm on actually like a 30-day uh, social media kind of. I am updating the Facebook page a little bit.
Right.
I'm starting to put up a little bit of training videos here.
Hmm.
Well, actually today I think I started, but yeah. So I'll probably start doing a little bit more of that.
But even for people to visit it and see,
Yeah,
where you started, how this has progressed, and if they can learn something a little bit, be inspired by it, I hope they do. So I want to make sure that take the time to see this process is in black and white and documented kind of from day one that they've done
yeah,
this. And I said, I mean, we talked about it before. You started walking. That's
yeah.
it. Um,
And yeah, so like, and the thing is, it wasn't really all about me, like, losing weight and going on and doing this competition either. Like, it was more, you know, kind of like, you're going through a lot of, with COVID and all that other stuff, you're going through some hard times, you know, relationships are rocky. I'm sure there was tons of people going through this stuff.
right.
And the thing is, you got to change the story. You got to try to figure something out. And that's what I did. Like, it was more, relationship building, um, trying to be a better person. And then just as you increase and as you start doing that stuff, everything kind of flourishes. So,
Excellent. John, before we wrap things up here, last time you were on, we had this thing. You're a good singer, we know that. Sang "O Canada." I'm not going to make you do it again, but we do have a little regular thing that we've developed over the last few episodes here, where I bring the guest on. And last question: as you, who is now a two-time someone who is completely interesting, a bodybuilding champion,
oh, geez.
I think people are kind of curious with the guests I bring on, and this was an idea that developed from a suggestion from a friend of ours, and he said, "I want to know when someone is completely interesting, who they think is completely interesting." So the question is, who would you recommend for this podcast? Whether we get them on or not, doesn't matter. Off the top of your head, who would you recommend, and maybe a brief explanation why?
Who would I recommend for the show?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. That is a very, very good question. Hmm.
I really put you on the spot. I'm
You
sorry.
did, yeah.
If you want to take a pass on this one, I'll let you, but you can always post on the notes or post on the page later if unless you think of someone.
You know what? You know what? Like, there's been some people that have like really inspired me, like throughout my own journey.
Right.
And there are some people in town that have gone through similar weight losses and stuff like that, and that are becoming better people. And the thing is I honestly think, um,
Are you saying you've got a list going through your head?
I do, like, there's actually a few people, like,
Okay.
yeah, there wouldn't just be one person,
And
but
and you know what? That's a good thing. Maybe we'll leave it at that
okay,
because that's kind of what you can do is maybe spoon feed me a couple because we're always looking for guests too. So,
okay,
all
yeah.
right. So we'll leave it at that. Again, thank you so much, John. I know you've got a very busy schedule. You work hard with your regular job. Define your life now. You're helping people in the gym now a lot more. So again, for taking the time to do this, I really, really, truly appreciate it. And of course, I'm in complete awe and admiration of what you've been able to accomplish. So, once again, someone completely interesting, the one, the only Giovanni Zappitelli.
Well, thanks, Ben.
Okay. Just a reminder as well before we wrap up, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give our other episodes a listen. You can find us through searching Poolin Radio on social media and through your favorite podcast provider, again, Poolin Radio, or Now for Someone Completely Interesting.